Hey everybody, welcome back to Silent Shed after a long hiatus. Today I got a video I'm super excited to be bringing you guys, mostly because I'm a huge fan of Apex Legends and I've been playing it an awful lot lately. Today we're going to be going over Apex Legends tips and tricks for beginners. So if you're a new player or you've just kind of been thinking about starting to play Apex, these 10 tips will help you have a general understanding of how to play better right out of the gate. We're going to get started. So for our first tip, we're going to be talking about where to drop. And I'd say to start, when you're in the dropship, take advantage of your time and go ahead and take a look at the minimap. You're going to want to pick yourself a spot to land. And as a newer player, I actually recommend that you go to some hot drops and go to premier locations in the direct path of the dropship to get used to combat as quickly as possible. And that does mean that you might have a lot of early deaths, but I think that sink or swim mentality really helps you develop your combat skills as quickly as possible. So I think it actually just kind of leads to you getting used to everything a little bit faster than other players. If that's not really your style though, you can do a quieter drop, and all you're going to do is just the exact opposite. You're going to pick somewhere more far away from the ship and not in the direct path, and you're going to go ahead and try to get there. That's not always easy, which is going to bring me to my next tip. And now for our second tip, we're going to be talking about how to drop. And now obviously dropping isn't rocket science, it's pretty simple, but there are some tricks to it to being a better lander than most players right out of the gate. And I'm talking about the stair step or the dolphin dive method, whichever you prefer to call it. It's pretty simple. First, you're going to pick your spot. You kind of want to ping somewhere that's not ever further away than 1,000 meters, just because it'll take too long and you most likely won't make it if you don't know what you're doing. So after that, you're going to jump out of the ship and you're going to notice that speed meter right there on your left. The key is actually to stay somewhere between 145 meters per second and about 132 meters per second. To do this, what you're simply going to do is just go down really fast whenever you want to pick up speed, and then you're going to go right back up and flatten out until you reach that 132 mark. That way you can go a little bit further. And then you're just going to do that as much as you need to until you reach your spot. If it is close, I am going to mention that you probably don't need to do this though, and it's going to end up making you land a little bit later than everybody else. So if you're just going somewhere close, just go ahead and drop straight down mostly. But now you're dropping fast and far, which means that you're most likely going to get the good loot over somebody else. For my next tip, we're going to be talking about something that I think is kind of overlooked when a lot of people start a new game. I'm going to go ahead and say learn the controls and then adjust them is going to be my tip number 3. And this is simple, and in fact the tutorial mostly covers this, but I will say that it's different for everybody and not everyone likes default controls. I'd recommend going into the firing range again and getting used to the controls like sliding, jumping, putting away your guns, meleeing, switching weapons, firing them, and even using some of your abilities. Now of course this is all a no-brainer, but I found the control mapping in the game to leave a lot to be desired. So I'm going to go ahead and recommend using them and then just going into your settings and changing them. For example, I remapped my tactical ability and my melee to be on my extra mouse buttons, as well as changing my aim from aim down sight to hold rather than toggle. Honestly, it seems dumb, I know, but optimizing your settings to how you play means that you're no longer going to be working against yourself, and you can bet that other players are doing this too. So now you have your settings adjusted and you probably found your optimal sensitivity. My tip number 4 is actually going to be move and loot fast. And I'm going to stress this, that Apex is just a really fast-paced game. So the player that has the game's fine-tuned movements down and can move faster is probably going to find better loot, and they're going to have a better chance of not dying in combat. And I'm going to go ahead and say putting away your gun is actually the main point I want to make here. Don't underestimate it. That speed boost that you get is actually pretty monumental and changes the situation for the better most of the time. That doesn't mean do it when it's not safe. It just means start figuring out when it is safe to do it and do it as much as you possibly can. You should also take advantage of sliding and jumping whenever you can, because again, not only does it make you fast, but it also makes you kind of hard to hit. If you do all 3 of these things, you're going to get to the loot faster and you're going to be a better opponent in combat. And since we're talking about looting fast, we'll move on to our next tip. Tip number 5 is going to be learn the ammo types and the guns that go with them. This game has 5 different ammo types and a whole lot of guns. That means that you should probably know what you're doing at least a little bit with each of them. I recommend going right back into the firing range and seeing which guns go with what ammo type and what exactly they do, because it's just going to make your looting in game much quicker and more efficient. In the firing range, they have them all divided into sections based on which ammo type they're using, which makes it easy for you to just go in there and figure out which guns you like and which guns you don't. In games, however, like I said, this is just going to help you so much. You'll say, okay, this gun goes with that ammo, and I know I can put these attachments on there, and you'll be quick to realize what you do and you don't need, and then you can go right into fighting people who just aren't as quick as you because you kind of planned this out all before. Just remember, it's all color coded, so it really shouldn't be too hard to figure it out. Just go ahead and try out whichever guns you like. Now hopefully you tried out a decent amount of weapons, because my next tip is going to be pick your favorite weapon. In the firing range or in game, I'd say just go ahead and give those guns a bunch of shots. Get to know which ones you like and which ones you don't, because they don't all do the same thing and they each have value in their own way and their own attachments to go with it. Figure out which one fits your playstyle and which ones don't. I just recommend having 2 ideal sets of weapons, because being familiar with these guns means that you're going to have a significant advantage. You're used to their amount of recoil, you're used to the way they operate, you're used to swaying them back and forth. It just makes you a better player in general. So these would be the guns you'd want to carry throughout your whole match if you ideally could. I recommend never using guns from the same ammo category, but some people do things like the wingman and a different heavy weapon. Maybe even taking a shotgun or a sniper or a pistol as your secondary weapon because they require less ammo might be a good idea. That means that you save on backpack space for meds and grenades. If you want my top gun picks though, I'd say comment below and I'd probably make another video talking about what guns I typically see the pros use and what guns I typically use myself. So we're getting a little further along into the video, and I'm going to start talking about some crucial skills I like to remember in combat. Tip number 7 is going to be use the high ground. Now this really shouldn't be new to any previous battle royale player or FPS player, but the high ground is king. It makes it easier to spot enemies before they can spot you, and it gives you access to some really easy headshots because you're going to be above them. So in combat, I just recommend remembering that you can actually climb over stuff. After all, this game is all about movement, and they included a wall climbing feature. That means they probably wanted you to use it. So you may be hiding behind cover, poking in and out, having a fight with somebody, and then they get your shields down. A good strategy would just be to pop a shield and go ahead and go over that thing when they rush you, and instead of being where they expect you to be, you're going to be over them and you're going to get a really awesome play and possibly kill them. Just remembering this tip is going to help you get some really good plays. And just remember, this isn't even really my tip. I stole this from Obi-Wan, and clearly it works. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Now, tip number 8 is going to be my most complex. I'm just going to try to graze over it because it's a 3-part tip, really. I'm going to call it the swap, drop, and heal. The swap portion of that, meaning if you're in combat and you run out of ammo, look around you. There might be death boxes or just guns or ammo lying around, and you can quickly pick that up and then you're not gonna die. You know, that might save your life. You can even apply that to body shields as well, because this one is just IQ 200 playing right here. If you kill an enemy and they have a body shield and yours is low, it's much faster to just go into that box, pick it up, and boom, now you have shields again. Just make sure not to stand still while you're doing it and kind of wiggle around like a little worm while you're going through their box. The next is drop, which means that you should probably try to slide as much as you can because it shrinks your hitbox and makes you harder to hit. With heal, however, this can be a deadly combination because not only should you be dropping your shots, you should also probably learn when to drop your aggression and heal. Learning to heal in combat will take the most time, but honestly, it's a game changer and it's what separates some really good players from some really bad players. I recommend telling your teammates when you are going to heal though, so they can back you up, but also hiding behind doors and cover just to get right back up to full shields is a really smart idea. You can really surprise people when they think they have you and boom, you're healed up, and now the damage they did to you doesn't matter and their rush is totally going to fail. Just keep those in mind and practice. Swap, drop, and heal. They may save your life and get you that win. Now, tip number 9 is arguably the most important tip I have here, but it's also the hardest one to pull off because it requires more than your attention. It's going to be stick together and work as a team. This is a team game, and I can tell you right now, there's going to be some frustrating moments when some of your teammates drop solo or someone just isn't being a team player. Some people get on this high horse and they think they can do it all themselves, but honestly it's silly because your chances are always going to be better together and it just ruins the game for everybody. So I'd say try not to be that teammate and think about it this way. It's way better to be stupid as a team than to be smart all by yourself, because at least there's a chance that you guys can help each other out and pick up each other's slack. Maybe you'll clutch out the fight just by helping each other. This doesn't mean drop on top of each other and be right next to each other constantly, but it just means be within range to where you can help your teammates and try to get there quickly. Don't forget to ping what you need and what you don't need, just because your teammate might actually need it, and it helps to stay informed and helps with the communication of your team. The winners of Apex are always people who communicate with pings and stick with their teammates and try to work together. Just remember that and try to have fun. Don't ruin the game for your fellow player by leaving early or giving up either, because there's a great community within Apex, and some people are really going to surprise you because they're willing to help and they may even carry you to the victory all by themselves. Alright, so here we are at the last tip, tip number 10, and honestly, I'm going to get a little bit corny here, and I'm going to go ahead and say tip number 10 is just going to be stay positive. To me, Apex is not an easy game, and it took me a long time to succeed, and I don't think people just kind of jump in and succeed, or at least very few do. There's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to overcome, but I would just say don't give up. There's some days where you just don't do good, and you just kind of Gotta see it all the way through. Things take time, and Apex just happens to be one of those things. There's a lot of players like me who struggled for a week before they could even get that first win, and if it wasn't for my positive attitude and some good friends to play it with, I would have never made it all the way to platinum where I am now. There are plenty of times where you'll get mad and just get down on yourself. Just remember that if you keep playing, you keep an open mind, and keep learning some stuff, you will get better at the game if that's what you want to do. But above all, just stay positive and have fun. You're playing this game to have fun, and that's what the most important thing is. I lied. I actually have one more tip because I didn't mention anything about characters. Honestly, I think I could probably make a whole video about characters, and that's kind of why I avoided it. I wanted to quickly mention something though. You should read and know what all the characters do, because even if you're not playing them, you are going to be playing against them. And on top of that, I would say you should have at least 3 favorite characters. This way, if 2 of your favorites get picked because you're the last pick, you still have someone you like and you're familiar with, so that way you're not going into the game with a blind character that you just don't enjoy playing. Never do that to yourself and try to keep 3. But like I said, I'll probably be covering my favorite characters, just what characters I enjoy or what pros are playing, or if that's something you're interested in, just leave a comment below, because I think there's just way too much to cover there. There you have it. That's all the tips I have for right now, and I think it's going to help everybody here become a better player in Apex Legends. Hopefully you enjoyed the video and you found it helpful. If you did, leave us a like, and if you didn't, comment below. I really don't mind. I'd like to hear what you have to say. If you want more tips though, let me know in the comments as well, and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching, and stay frosty, Legends.